I never thought my life would take such a turn. Who could have seen it coming? One minute, everything seemed to be falling into place, and the next, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. It all started when my sister, Merryill, called me out of the blue. Her voice was upbeat, too upbeat for a normal conversation. I couldn't help but feel something was off. "Hey, thanks for the $50,000 in appliances," she said casually, as if she were thanking me for lending her a book. I blinked, trying to process what she had just said. "What? What do you mean $50,000 in appliances? I didn't buy that." "Come on, Vivien. You've got that fancy black card now. I thought I'd put it to good use and treat myself. After all, who else deserves it more than me?" She laughed, but I wasn't laughing. My heart began to race. A black card? I didn't own a black card, and how could she have spent so much money on appliances? "Merryill, I don't have a black card. What are you talking about?" She paused for a second, then scoffed. "Stop playing dumb. You had a black card in your wallet. I took it. You should thank me. I'm doing you a favor by putting it to good use." I felt a cold sweat break out across my skin. "Merryill, that's not my card," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I knew this wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. This was serious. Serious enough to ruin me. To understand how I got into this mess, I have to go back to the beginning. My name is Vivien, and I've always been someone who values hard work. Growing up, while other kids were out enjoying themselves, I was already thinking about the future. I wanted to be independent, to make a name for myself without relying on anyone. In high school, I landed a part-time job at a company I admired. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me a sense of purpose. The company was a high-end fashion brand, and even though I was just a sales associate, I loved being part of something bigger. While my friends went to parties or hung out on weekends, I worked. I earned money. I felt proud. After high school, I continued working for the company while attending college. My goal was simple: pay off my tuition without burdening my parents. It wasn't easy, but I was driven. I knew that if I could keep pushing forward, I would eventually get where I wanted to be. By the time I graduated from college, I had enough savings to live on my own and start paying off my student loans. My hard work was finally paying off. And just when I was thinking about my next steps, the CEO of the company offered me a full-time position. I couldn't believe it. The job was everything I had dreamed of. I would be working in public relations, managing the company's image, dealing with clients, and representing the brand. I felt like I was on top of the world. Little did I know, my success was about to stir up some old, unresolved tension. The trouble started with my sister, Merryill. Merryill and I had never been close. She was 2 years older than me and had always resented the fact that I worked hard while she preferred to live a more carefree life. Growing up, she never held a job. Instead, she relied on our parents for everything: her rent, her spending money, even her vacations. She thought she was living the good life, but I saw things differently. I worked hard to make my own way, while Merryill floated through life without a plan. She often mocked me for working so much, accusing me of showing off by buying things for myself with the money I earned. It wasn't that I was trying to flaunt my success, I was just proud of what I had accomplished. Our relationship became even more strained after our parents passed away in a tragic accident. I was heartbroken, struggling to cope with the loss, but Merryill seemed more concerned with how their deaths would affect her lifestyle. With no one left to financially support her, she was furious. While I grieved, she complained about having to find a job for the first time in her life. We had to sort out our parents' estate, which wasn't much, but I decided to give Merryill their savings. I hoped it would help her figure things out, and honestly, I just wanted her to stop complaining. But Merryill wasn't interested in making changes. She blew through the money in no time, using it for who knows what. I tried to distance myself from her after that, but she wasn't going to let me go so easily. For a while, Merryill was quiet. I was busy with my new job, climbing the ranks at the company and feeling like I was finally achieving everything I had worked for. I didn't have time to worry about my sister. But then, out of nowhere, she started reaching out to me again. "Why don't we hang out more?" she'd say. "We're sisters, after all." I wasn't falling for it. I knew what she was after. Money. She'd blown through her share of our parents' inheritance and was looking for her next source of cash. I politely declined her invitations, telling her I was busy with work. But she kept pushing, and eventually she showed up at my apartment uninvited. "Surprise," she said with a grin, a large suitcase in tow. "I'm staying for a couple of nights. Hope you don't mind." I was too shocked to argue. Before I knew it, she had made herself comfortable in my living room, watching TV and demanding that I cook for her. I tried to keep my cool, but it was clear that Merryill wasn't going anywhere. By the second night, I was fed up. I confronted her, asking why she was really here. She just laughed and said, "You'll thank me later." I had no idea what she meant at the time, but the next morning I found out. She called me, her voice excited and full of energy. "Guess what, Vivien? I just bought $50,000 worth of appliances. Thanks to you, of course." My blood ran cold. "What? How?" "You've got that black card, don't you? I took it from your wallet when I stayed over. Don't worry, I used it wisely," she said, as if that somehow made it better. I couldn't breathe. "I took it from your wallet when you were in the shower," she added, almost proudly. My head was spinning. Black card? I didn't own a black card. My wallet didn't even have anything remotely close to one. "Merryill, that's not my card," I said, my voice trembling. "That belongs to my CEO. I was holding on to it for him after a client meeting. We forgot to exchange our things." I could barely believe the words coming out of my own mouth. "What?" Her excitement vanished, replaced by sudden silence. "You mean it's not yours?" "No, it's not mine," I practically shouted. "You've just charged $50,000 on my CEO's personal card. Do you realize what you've done? This is theft, Merryill. You could go to jail for this." Now she sounded frantic. But I thought it was yours. You live such a fancy life now. I figured you could afford it. You can fix this, right?" Fix it? How was I supposed to fix this? I had worked so hard to get where I was, and now everything was about to come crashing down because of her carelessness. I wanted to scream, to lash out at her for being so irresponsible, but I knew I had to stay calm if I wanted to find a way out of this. The next day, I walked into the office with a pit in my stomach. I had to tell the CEO what happened, but how could I explain that my sister had stolen his card? My job, my entire career was on the line, and I had no idea how he would react. I knocked on his office door, my heart pounding in my chest. When he told me to come in, I stepped inside, feeling like a child about to be scolded. "Vivien, what's going on?" he asked, sensing my anxiety. I need to tell you something." My voice was shaking. I told him everything. How my sister had come to my apartment, how she had taken his card, and how she had spent $50,000 without my knowledge. I braced myself for the worst. The CEO listened quietly, his expression unreadable. When I finished, there was a long, tense silence. I was sure I was about to be fired, or worse. Then, to my surprise, he smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile that made me uneasy, like he knew something I didn't. "I see," he said calmly. "Don't worry, Vivien. I'll take care of this." I blinked, unsure if I had heard him correctly. "You're not upset?" "Of course, I'm not happy about it," he said, leaning back in his chair. "But I understand that this wasn't your fault. Let me handle your sister. I have ways of dealing with these kinds of situations." His words should have reassured me, but instead, they left me feeling more nervous than before. What did he mean by handling my sister? A few days later, Merryill called me in a panic. "Vivien, what the hell did you do? I just got a letter from your CEO's lawyer." I sighed, knowing this was coming. "It's not my fault, Merryill. You stole his card. What did you expect?" "But he's threatening to sue me. He says if I don't pay him back, he'll take legal action." I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. The CEO was serious about this, and there was no way Merrill could weasel her way out of it. But I also knew that if she didn't pay him back, things could get ugly fast. "You need to return the money, Merrill," I said firmly. "That's the only way to make this right." "But I don't have $50,000, she wailed. "Then you'd better figure it out." As the days passed, Merrill became more and more frantic. She tried everything, begging, borrowing, even threatening me. But I refused to let her drag me down with her. I had worked too hard to let her ruin everything. In the end, Merrill managed to scrape together the money from distant relatives and friends. She hated every minute of it, but she had no other choice. She sent the payment to my CEO, and just like that, the immediate crisis was over. But the damage to Merrill's reputation was done. Word spread quickly among our family and friends about what she had done. People were disgusted by her behavior, and even those who had once been sympathetic to her began to distance themselves. No one wanted to be associated with someone who had stolen from her own sister, or worse, from a powerful CEO. Merrill tried to play the victim, but it didn't work. She had burned too many bridges, and now she was truly on her own. I, on the other hand, was lucky. The CEO had kept his word. He didn't hold the incident against me, and I was able to keep my job. But I knew I couldn't let something like this happen again. I had to cut ties with Merrill for good. When she called me again, begging for help, I made my decision. "Merrill, I've given you more chances than you deserve. I'm done. You're on your own now." She screamed at me, calling me heartless, selfish, and every other name in the book. But I didn't care anymore. I had to protect myself. I blocked her number, changed my locks, and even moved to a new apartment. I was done being her safety net. It was time to live my own life, free from her toxic influence. In the weeks that followed, I focused on my work, determined to put the whole ordeal behind me. My career was on the rise, and I wasn't about to let anything or anyone hold me back. As for Merrill, I heard through the grapevine that things had only gotten worse for her. She couldn't find a job, and the money she had borrowed to pay back the CEO was piling up in the form of debt she couldn't repay. No one wanted to help her anymore, and she had alienated everyone who had once cared about her. The last I heard, she was living in a tiny, run-down apartment, barely making ends meet with a part-time job. It was a far cry from the life she had once enjoyed, and it was all because of her own selfishness and refusal to take responsibility. Looking back on everything, I realized that my sister's downfall wasn't just about the money. It was about her inability to grow up, to face the consequences of her actions. She had always taken the easy way out, relying on others to fix her mistakes. But in the end, that strategy had caught up with her. I, on the other hand, had learned a valuable lesson. No matter how hard it is, sometimes you have to let go of the people who drag you down. Even if they're family, it's not easy. But it's necessary if you want to move forward. As I continued to build my career and my life, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. I was free from the weight of Merrill's constant demands and drama, and for the first time, I was truly in control of my own future. And while I hoped Merrill would one day find her way, I knew that whatever path she chose, it was no longer my responsibility.